So yeah, I was listening about the snow problems, and yeah, I was telling them that I learned the hard way. We went to Lake Mills, Iowa. Lake Mills is a little town of 1,000 people, and when we arrived, we were 2005. So there was a lot of snow there. Actually, the youngest one, my son Oscar, was asking me if Santa Claus perhaps lives nearby because there was a lot of snow there. So anyway, so Gabriela, my wife, wasn't able to come here because she's a little sick after the trip, and there's a lot of dust that we ate during the Sunday and Saturday. We were waiting for the pop. But I think it's like a 10 or 11 slides, if I recall well, about what we did, and actually it's more pictures rather than words. So I want just to tell you what was the experience and the feeling attending this conference. The day that we start was on Monday, 21st. We wake up at like 4 a.m. and drive to Indianapolis and take the bus to Philadelphia around 7:30. And after 15 hours or 16 hours, even though the trip takes like 10 hours, but we had 16 hours, we were able to arrive there. And I think that in my mind was more like this theme of a pray, eat, and love movie from Julia Roberts. So I started those three words and said, what we are doing here. And of course, once that we get up to the bus, we start praying, right? We have one of the priests from the archdiocese was accompanying us, so we start to pray and of course eat a lot, and then we start the journey. Even though this was a trip to Philadelphia, actually the journey started like 1 year ago, really. And when I say the journey, meaning the spiritual journey for us, because we received the invitation that this trip will be scheduled to go there, and they invite us and everybody says, yes, we want to go. So in the beginning, not just my wife and I was ready to go. Actually, I was put also my children, thinking that this will be a great way to spend our family time over there. But then the price was so expensive, and they said, well, you know what? I denied and says, I'm sorry, but I won't be able to do it. But then 1 month before the trip, they called me and says that there is no Hispanic representation on the trip, so they want us to see if we will be able to go if they pay a third of the trip. So the other part was paid by the parish here, and Gabi and I work to do some kind of fundraisings to go together. So that was working very well. Anyway, we arrived finally on the night of the Monday, and then next day we wake up like at 6 a.m., pray, and go for the registration. There was a huge amount of people trying to register themselves to the conference. And well, finally we were there. And used to see around, I think that they count almost 60,000 people in the conference. So just to be able to see people from different countries. So I think there was 160 countries attending there. And between lays, of course, priests and nuns, you just basically turn your head and there was a priest here, a deacon there, and nun there. So you were feeling very spiritual in the company. And that was then the first kind of awakening of what really means to be there. Was after the opening ceremony, we have a mass, and I was telling them in some of the pictures that I showed here, but also in the ones that you were able to see, there were like a 500 priests processing to the altar there, and that takes almost between 35 to 45 minutes just for the procession to get there. So that was one of the first longest mass that we attended every week. Right? So that was awesome. The feeling was incredible. So we started again to pray, eat, and learn some of the topics in the keynotes and breakout sessions that I will be sharing with you. I don't know if you recognize this, the Bishop Robert Barron, but he is the author of the Catholicism, some of the videos that we are checking in the church, but also he has a lot of documentals and biographies for saints, and also a lot of kind of articles. You can see him almost frequently EWN and other shows talking about the spirituality and of course Catholicism. But he basically started the keynotes and opening the World Family Meeting, and with one of the themes that was, our likeness to God is revealed. And takeaways from me of that presentation was that our journey in the Bible starts in Genesis with a family and also finish in Revelation with the wedding of the Lamb and the church. So again, everything is part of family, and God delivered everything to a family, and the importance of a family in our path together. And then Wednesday, I'm pretty hit the schedule, not because I just want to worry you with all of this, but just to acknowledge that, I don't know you, but sometimes myself, even, I feel like I'm kind of forgetting that I need to pray, or I have a very busy agenda in the day that I say always, I don't have time to pray, or I don't have time to God. If I only have more time, I will be able to do other things. So the schedule basically here is to remind us that there is always time. I think the question will be more about how we are spending our time, and what are the priorities that we have for our time. So with that in mind, again, like I say, in the day 3, we wake up, we pray, and then we walk many miles, because that all the downtown area, well, the center city they call in Philadelphia, was closed, so no buses or no cars. So you need to walk a lot to get to the conferences and to get to the different buildings or places that you want to visit. But that Wednesday was a very kind of an excited day for me. I'm an engineer. I'm used to project management, everything, right? Everything needs to have an agenda and times and dates and people responsible to do that. And I'm always looking to improve everything. I see a problem, I try to solve everything. That was a lot of details I observed in some of the presentations, some mistakes in the recording or in the translation or in any kind of detail around the conference. So in other words, I was not present in the conference until this day. And when I say until this day, it's because around 11:30, my wife says, oh, looks like they are offering reconciliation. Let's go and see if we can get the sacrament there. I said, okay, sure. I said, that will be a long, kind of a waiting time that we need to be there. So, but let's do it. Just don't fight with my wife there. And so we arrived to the area, and that was the 500 priests that they were there. They break down by the different language that they speak. So you have one reconciliation area for Japanese, for Vietnamese, for English, for Spanish. So in the Spanish area, there was just 3 people. So I didn't have excuse, really, or any valid excuse to go or to don't go there. So I attend the reconciliation, and I cannot tell you where my sins I tell the priest, but I can tell you the comfort that I felt after the reconciliation. And when the priest talked to me about what I need to do, or what I'm called to do, that reminded me of the mercy and love of God. Basically, that was when I started to open not only my eyes, but also my heart, my soul, to what was going on around, and acknowledge all the beauty that we have, not just in the diversity of the people attending there, but also in the themes, and also in the speakers, but in the little witnessing all the miracles that were happening around me that I wasn't really open to see before this day. And when I say that, it's because we have several people with handicapped people, rather they were excited to be there and just demonstrating the love that they have for God. And also acknowledging that that was a family worldwide meeting, and to celebrate the family and the values that we have. And that made me miss my own family, but also my family in Mexico, and also my family in my parish and my community. So family is not just for the sibling, but also for who we are as a body of Christ, or as a family, a Catholic family. And then the other keynote that we attended was from Cardinal Robert Sarah. That was the life of the family in the dark world. There is a lot of technology around these days, and of course a lot of temptations, you will, a lot of opportunities to sin or to deviate from the good path and take the bad path. But actually, that is also a reminder of how can we find life, of course in Jesus and God, but also in our own parish and in our own members of the parish, our friends, this is a demonstration of the light that we're providing in this darkness world, right? I mean, there is always a light, somebody who professes the same faith that we have. And perhaps we are the only Bibles that that person will be hearing in their entire life. So otherwise, if this venue that we are putting here together it doesn't exist, perhaps we'll be just sad, or we'll be texting, or we'll be in the computer, doing something else, but not talking about something in common that we have, that is God in our hearts. And then several speakers start to share with us some of the different themes related with how can we be a couple looking for the for heaven, but also how can we as members of a family can go to the same path or to heaven also. So basically, was a respect from each other and not pushing anybody else. And one of the important things or takeaways for me was that in my family, in my own family, my wife is the one who is always pushing to go to Mass, or you need to pray and do the same thing, or tell the same thing to my children, right? Even my daughter, who doesn't live with us, she lives in Evansville, Indiana, she's always calling her and says, hey, have you been attending Mass? Or are you praying? Please pray for me, right? Or are you please pray for this person that is sick or whatever. But she's always trying to encourage us to continue praying. And of course, my children, sometimes they accept that encouragement or recommendation, and sometimes they don't listen to her, right? Even myself, I don't do that. But the point here is that this couple mentioned is that it's not about how many devotional prayers do you remember, or how long you take, or how much time you take to pray, or even if you don't feel like you are praying correctly, or that sometimes your prayer is just mechanical and not really integral, I mean, with your soul, your mind, and your faith. But it's just do it, you just need to pray for it. And one example that they put there was that there is a couple that where the husband doesn't like to pray, and the wife is the only who is praying. And she was always complaining about why does she need to do, or why God doesn't allow her husband to be faithful as she is. And the couple says, well, perhaps she doesn't need to ask for permission. And that means that if he doesn't want to pray, you can pray for him. Or this is why in Mass we pray for the ones who don't pray. So that also reminds us in Mass when we are praying, or even in our own praying, individual praying or intimacy praying with God, praying for the people who doesn't want to pray or who doesn't have time to pray. But prayer is very important for us. And then the Dr. Helen Albury talked about the different kind of fashion that the new couples or the youngest couple are taking. People who are willing to have more pets or puppies rather than have children because independency, or I don't know, the lack of commitment, or afraid to take responsibilities, right? But just to recognize that children is also a blessing of the sacrament of the matrimony. And of course, thanks to that gift and thanks to that blessing, this is why we are here, because our fathers decided to really receive that gift. So it's an encouragement not to perhaps an encouragement to really be open to whatever God will be giving us, but with responsibility, of course. And then Thursday came, and again we continue praying, waking up very early, continue going to Mass, and then we have more breakout sessions and keynotes. And one of the keynotes that we had was the gift from God. There is a couple that are doctors, and they're from Colombia, and they were talking about the fertility, and of course the different ways how the people are trying to avoid having children again. So again, we talk about the importance and the mission that we have as a family, as a couples, or you will become a parent, what will be your mission? And basically just to be open to the gift from God. And then one of my favorite authors, and perhaps one of the most important speakers that I recognized in the conference was Scott Hahn. I don't know if you are aware of him or knew something about him, but he's the author of several books, but one of the books is I think, his return to home. He is not, he is, I think, was Episcopal Baptist pastor, Presbyterian, right? And become Catholic after several years. But he was talking about the back to the Garden of Eden, and basically again pointed out that the Bible, or the salvation plan of God, starts with a family and then also ends with a family concept. And of course the meaning of covenant. And there are several books about it. I'm also a candidate to become a permanent deacon, so we're having studied a lot of these books during the program. But the difference between covenant and contract is a huge, huge difference. A contract has limitations and have several requirements that both parties need to meet, but the covenant, it goes beyond that requirements or doesn't have limitations at all. So when we talk about the covenant that God made with us, it's basically that He will love us. That is always, right? Doesn't have kind of limitations. So like some people, even including myself, sometimes I was thinking that God loves me if I am behaving well. God loves me if I am attending Mass. God doesn't love me if I'm not doing my duties as a parent or as a worker or as a member of the parish. But in reality, he was explaining this in a way, in a personal way, when he shared with us that when he get married and has his first child, I think that he was surprised, first of all, that that little piece of human being was his son. His own name, his son names is Michael. I don't know if you are aware of, but yesterday was the day of the three archangels, Gabriel and Raphael, right? So I'm just making that's a parenthesis. But when his son were born, he was so amazed and so afraid of touching him, because he said, perhaps I will be breaking him, right? But one night, his wife was nourishing him, and he said, well, let me take care of that so I can really help you and you can go to sleep. And he took his son to a different room, and he was just trying to help him to sleep. And then in a moment he just take him into his arm and shoulder, and he said, you know, I was just in that time feeling a wonderful feeling, a wonderful love, how much love I have for my son. And then as probably everybody will know, as a partner, you are taking a baby after it has been eating, he started to feel something liquid in his shoulder, right, and in his back, and that was, of course, was vomiting. So of course, sometimes we forget, but if somebody vomiting us, we'll be killing them or fight to him, right? So, but because it was his son, he was more focused in cleaning him very fast and be sure that he was okay, and he doesn't care about the vomiting in his shoulder, right? So in that time, he realized that this is the wonderful love that a parent can have for a children, even though he's vomiting the parent. And then he heard a voice, and of course later on he says, perhaps I was Jesus saying, do you love him? I mean, you love your son? I said, of course, you know, I cannot express with words, you know, that I feel right now. But I'm crying right now. I'm just so happy to see him in a peaceful way, and he's sleeping, and I have him in my arms, so I just scared what would be happening with him when he grew up. But of course I love him. So this voice says to him, well, as you love your child, I also love my children, but just a little bit more. He said, well, I understand you are a parent, I'm sure that you love your children too. And then that was a shock moment when he realizes, oh, this is God, and he's telling me that he loves his children and his children. Right, so you love me too? I say, yes, I love you as you love your son, but just a little bit more. Wow, so even though I has been able to vomit in you several times, yes, and actually to be precise, 300 times, right? Yes, I still love you. So that also was a kind of a takeaway for me, and take me back to my own experience with my children. When they were sick, I was feeling desperate and so scared that something will be happening for them. And even though sometimes we are in this accordance, so we already agree with some of the decisions that they take, I always love them. And you cannot describe that with words. Perhaps you can use some of them, but really no words will be describing the feeling that you have when you see your children just growing up. And so the same thing happened with God, is how much He loves us. Doesn't matter how we behave. So that is a reminder also about that perhaps we need to love God as He loves us. And then this is the cardinal for the Philippines. That was an awesome speaker, a speech that he made about the family as a home for the conquered heart. After the reconciliation that I had, that was also Wednesday, so you can, perhaps you can sense how I felt after receiving reconciliation and be attending this speech about the golden heart. You know, I was just crying the entire thing, even though I record that. I can still feel some of the crying that I was having there. But basically, the takeaway for that speech was that what is family for us? And perhaps I can also ask the question for you. What is family for each of you? If somebody can tell me or can share with you. What does family mean for you? Or perhaps to be a little bit more precise, what home means for you? I mean, you were mentioning that all your relatives are not here in Pennsylvania. So what home means for you? You can share with us.
Right now it means comfort.
Right. What else? What home means for you?
It's a safe place.
Safe.
Loving place.
Loving place. I think that you nailed it. The speech started with a presentation where there was an African-American girl talking about her own family, and she says, even in my family I fight every day with my brothers and sisters, or even I am in disagreement with the way my parents try to educate me, or why they prohibit me to go to a concert or to a party. You know, I still love my family. So we can fight each other, but when one of us needs us, everybody will be there. Everybody will pray for each other. Everybody will be calling each other to see what we need. And also the Cardinal says, he used a metaphor or a comparison to say, how can we compare home and family with different objects? For instance, there is a Philippine song that says, a chair is a chair, even though nobody is sitting in that chair, right? But it's not home. And then he also says, a bedroom is a bedroom, even though nobody is sleeping there. But it's not home. So, what is a home? Basically was the question, and the answer was what you say. A home is where love exists, or is there is love there, and never mind who is there. If it's love, that will be always home. And that, again, for an immigrant like me, you know, coming from Mexico just 13 or 15 years ago, home is always where my family is. And right now, my family is here, of course, the direct family. When I go back and talk with my brothers and sisters, my parents don't live anymore, but when they were alive, when I was talking with them, that was amazing. I feel like home. So that, like I said, I was crying every type of moment. But also he says that again, it's in family where we can feel safe and where we can feel love and with an open and honest heart. But also we need to see the church as the mother and actually provide that kind of support, and also as a family of faith. So taking this comparison to the church, I just let me make a parenthesis, because because last night my wife and I were visiting a person who has cancer, and who went to the hospital, and the hospital basically says, we cannot treat you anymore, you need to go home because they don't have insurance. So we were there because they were, I think that is a little bag that they need to put in a room that she has, and they need to change that bag every 3 days. And if she doesn't change that, that would be an infection, and that causes a lot of problems. So we were there, and they live in a kind of a, what is that, between, it's in the 31 National Road going to Seymour. What do you call it? It's a trail park before the junk for the cars that is there, that area, like a 5 minutes from the Walmart.
Garden City?
Some, perhaps, yeah. Well, Garden City is, but similar like that. But anyway, so when we arrived to the home, to the trial, that was almost feeling down. And but they were so happy to see us, and we were there to give some monetary support. And but I was able to talk with the person, and she was so happy to see us and says, you know, I really love the way the San Bartholomew Catholic Church is supporting us. Just please tell the Father Clem and everybody else that we are praying for you guys. They said, really? I mean, we are the ones who need to pray for you and help you, and you are the ones who are praying for us. So again, that is because we are a family. And when I saw that, that hurt my heart too much, but also filled my heart with a lot of love, because that is the way that we need to help each other. And so that was more about it, but again, he made the presentation in like a 1 hour and a half, so I'm just going to give you some key points with that. But again, his family is where the love is, and of course, our church is a family. And this is why, because we love each other in Christ, we also are a family too. And then Friday, the Bishop, Archbishop Tobin arrived and celebrated Mass with us in the Church of John the Evangelist. And we were thinking that that Mass would be just for us, the group of Indianapolis that we attend. We were like a 50 people, but in reality it was packed. We were like a 500 people in that Mass. And you can hear people outside that were not able to enter the church also trying to be there and just listen to the words. And the takeaway for that Mass is the Archbishop Tobin says, I'm very glad that you were able to be here, but if you are coming here just for the souvenirs or the t-shirt that we give you, you are wasting your time. Right? You are coming here, you don't need to forget that you're coming here to find Jesus and to find yourself. And that really, again, was another way to hit me, because again, we're not there for vacation time. Actually, it wasn't a vacation itinerary. You can see that, waking up very early and going to bed very late. But that was an awesome feeling, again, in preparation for the Pope visit. And really to see that Jesus is represented not just in the priest, of course, the vicar of God, who is the Pope, but in everybody that we encounter in our lives. So that was the preparation for that. After that, we have dinner with him. But on the same day, we have a couple of keynotes, and that was perhaps the other wonderful speaker. This is the pastor Rick Warren. He's not Catholic. I don't remember what was his denomination, but he was the first to talk about it. And I remember that I told you that I love Scott Hahn, and just listen to him, you can see a very high level vocabulary and theology, right? And actually he doesn't take a break, but he spit out in 45 minutes the entire Bible story, right? And that was like, oh my gosh, perhaps I just need to have a dictionary every time to see some of the words that he utilized. But then Pastor Rick Warren was able to do the same thing, but just with colloquial words. And that was just, you know, breaking this down to a level that everybody would be understanding about. And the best way that I love about him was that he made that speech based in two stories. The one is the ticket, and the other one is the value of a $100 bill. So I will share with you the $100 bill, perhaps because somebody of us already, some of you will remember this. He says that he was attending a jail, you know, doing some ministry in a jail. And in the middle of the patio, nobody was paying attention to him. So he said, oh gosh, how can I bring that attention there? So he picked from his wallet $100 bill and says, "Who wants this $100 bill?" Immediately, everybody was there, right? And then he take the bill and just spit on him and put it in the floor and put his feet over that and says, and pick the bill again and says, who wants to have this bill? Even though I have been doing all of this to the bill. And everybody says, yes, I want it. And almost he turned down in two parts and says, who still wants this bill? And everybody says, we want it. Everybody was saying. And basically the point was, this is the value that the bill has. Even though all of the things that could happen to the bill still has the same value. So the analogy for us is we are valuable to God. Doesn't matter where we are, where we have been, or where we have been done. We still have the same value for God. So that was also, again, another time for crying. Perhaps I need to put there, pray, cry, and pray, cry, and then more cry. But the second was about the ticket, and the ticket basically was a story when he says that a parent take his child in his birthday to a fair, and he bought a lot of tickets for him and for his son friends. And every time they were asking for tickets, he says, "Hey, Dad, could I go to this roller coaster?" "Sure, here are the tickets." So he went to the ride and get back and ask for more tickets and go to the next ride and that kind of thing. That was one of those times where he noticed another hand that was asking for tickets. And he just turned around and says, "Who are you?" That was a little boy, very poor boy that doesn't feel, or doesn't, he didn't recognize that was with them or with anybody else. And he says, "Well, I want a ticket." He says, "But who are you?" I say, "Well, I'm your friend's son." I say, "Really?" I say, "Yeah, well, I was asking him if I can have a ticket or I can have a ride with them." And says, "Go to my parent, you see that person? That is my father. Go to him and tell him that you are my friend and he will give you a ticket." Right? So he said, "This is why I want a ticket." So the way that he bring this to real life was that the Father is God, and the Son is Jesus Christ, and the question is to have a ticket to heaven. So in order to obtain that ticket, we need to tell the Father that we are the best friends of His Son. So the question is how you evaluate yourself, how good friend are you of Jesus Christ? And again, that was another way to reflect and really see, wow, perhaps sometimes I don't know that a very nice friend with the Son of the Father. And then on Saturday, finally, Pope will be arriving. So we went to have Mass with Father Eric, who is the director for vocation of the Archdiocese. And then after Mass, like around 9:30, we went walking to the Franklin Parkway and wait for the Pope. And we were there like at 10:30 perhaps, almost 11 a.m. And they were telling us that Pope will be arriving like at 4 p.m. And yeah, he arrived at 4 p.m. but to Philadelphia. And he went to several places, but finally he took the car or the Pope mobile, whatever they call it, to go to the Parkway at 7 p.m. So after, 11 to 17, almost like 8 hours of waiting, we saw the Pope pass by for 3 seconds. Only 3 seconds. Oh my God, oh, see you. But that was an amazing experience. We were waiting there. We were packing for the journey, for the trip, a lot of stools and snacks and that kind of stuff. But when we were there, the people who were the leaders of the group says, "Please don't take anything because everything is prohibited. They will be tossed everything, you won't be allowed to bring your own chair and that kind of stuff." So we were very adhering to the process, but when we got there, we discovered everybody has their own chairs and everything, right? So we were just standing off waiting for 6 hours, almost 7 hours for the Pope there. That was Saturday, but that was awesome. Being able to see Andrea Bocelli singing that wonderful song that time, and that was great. And of course, the Pope, the first time that he speak to the crowd, everybody was waiting for him to see what he would be saying. And guess what? He speak in Spanish. And then the jumbo screens that we have there didn't recognize the closed caption until 10 minutes after that. So everybody was saying, seriously? In Spanish? Juan Carlos, please tell what is he saying? And I say to myself, I didn't say that loud, but I say, well, that is the way that sometimes some of the Hispanic people feel about it. I don't know, I promise you I didn't open my mouth, but somebody else says, now that give us some appreciation about the diversity that we have. And that was another takeaway. In that moment is just to be open to everybody and really accept each other and recognize where we are. But doesn't matter what he was saying, everybody was crying. I don't know why, but everybody was crying and really trying to see that. But his call was basically, again, the family is important. We need to take care of the children and the elders. And basically everybody, our children and everybody would be elders anyway, so you just need to take care of the family. So for me it was in that moment another moment to cry, but also another moment to use the telephone and text message my family in Mexico and say, I just love you. And replying back with a lot of XOXOXO. And that was Saturday. So we ended at the hotel. Well, in our way back, we stopped by IHOP, very hungry, you know, just after eating just cold sandwiches, we were looking for a soup or something hot or warm. And then after 2 hours, we decided to leave because nobody was attending us. So we went to the hotel and just buy ham and bread for another cold sandwich. But that was like at 12 p.m., so ready to go to bed. Sunday, though, we formed a club that we call the Breakfast Club. So we say, what time do we need to be there to really be able to see the Pope again? Say, well, perhaps we need to leave early as possible. So we decided to wake up at 4, meet at 5 in the lobby of the hotel, and walk to the parkway. It took us almost an hour to get there. And 6 a.m. we were passing security right there. So we were right there behind where the mass would be happening at 6 a.m. until for a mass of 4 p.m. Right. So that was more kind of we were so tired, but also there's a lot of people around us that were so friendly and we were just joking around. But also the other thing that was happening is we have, I don't know if you can see here, but there is a couple, they are teachers from San Barnabas in Indianapolis, and they made this kind of a hat for Pope hats. One of them says, I have the Francis fever, and the other one says, I am a fan of the Francis Club. And every single network, right, you name it, CBS, Fox, local, international, or any other place, radio actually, stop by them and interview them and take pictures of them. And that was almost like a 60 or 70 different journalists interviewing them. So I'm sure that you will be able to see that in Facebook or YouTube, all kind of stuff. And then a couple of them was also asked us, Gabriela, my wife and I, to interview that. And then there is a network that is called Univision. Univision is part of the CBS, it's for the Hispanic community in USA. So a person says, do you speak Spanish? I say, yeah, I believe I speak Spanish. So I say, hey, is that one possible to have an interview with you in a live program that's happening right now? I say, sure, why not? But I will be only doing that if you offer me a couple seats in the mass. But I cannot do that. But well, let me see what I can do. I said, well, you know, we were negotiating. And they took me to the studio over there that we were there. And then when I was ready to go for the interview, I remember that I didn't shave myself, or I wasn't really combing my hair or whatever. But also that I was so happy that I would be able to interview that. But then they come back and says, you know, we cannot do that because the Pope is talking right now, so you won't be able to do it. I say, well, so you're telling me that the Pope is more important than myself? So I went back, right? And finally, 20 minutes after that, he came back and interviewed me right there when we were in the fence. And I have a short video that shows the Pope talking and then my point of view about what the Pope was telling us. So I was famous for 1 minute. But again, that was almost over 12 hours waiting for the Pope. Again, for other, this time, 6 seconds, I believe, that passed by. That was awesome because in the time that he passed where we were, he was just doing the blessing. So we have videos about for 4 seconds of the blessing. So that was awesome. And again, we hit back to the hotel around 12 p.m. And not because we were partying there, but just to get back from the place that we were, passing all the security and all the, I think that they said 800,000 people were there. So that was difficult. And then on Monday, again, we wake up early and take the bus back to Indianapolis. And that was time for praying, of course, but also reflecting about what was happening. That was an entire 7 days that happened very fast in our lives. Sometimes I was just thinking that we just wake up and go and to the conference or to the Pope visit and head back to the hotel. And for some reason I was so tired. And then the next day you were ready to wake up again and ready to go. But the reflection, what I have here is a picture of the different parts for the good and the evil. And that was part of the treasure of the Vatican that they were exposing in the museum. But just to demonstrate, know that we need to take one of those, but it's just to recognize and acknowledge that God is always with us. Doesn't matter what kind of decision that we take. He will be always open a door or a window for us. But we just need to be open also for Him. And I promise you, this is the 2 last slides that I have. So the question that I have for me, and now also I was asking this question also for my wife, and yesterday in the small community church that we have, group that we have, that was the same question: is what is next? What is the takeaway after this visit from the Pope to our country or attending the global conference? So instead of putting words, I just have in my mind these 3 pictures: the bishop saying the mass, the 3 popes, right? Benedict, Francis, and John Paul, and of course Jesus. So what does that mean for you? What do that 3 images or 3 pictures are telling you? Could you tell me what do they tell you?
Just continuity and the universal church and everybody being a part of what is next.
Mm-hmm. What about you? What those 3 pictures of the bishop, the popes, and Jesus tell you?
Kind of the same, like the future of the church and family.
Okay. Yeah, the theme of the conference was our mission is to love, right? And then at the end of the conference, they put here, in the backwards, the Pope saying, please just love, remember that love is your mission. So I have the bishop here, the 3 popes, and Jesus Christ. And again, it's just the invitation, right, of Jesus represented in every person that we have in the church. But not just in our ministries, but also in our own members of the parish or of the church, inviting us to love. And again, when we make the definition of love, if we go to the book of Corinthians, right, of the letter of Corinthians, what love means, we can really define what is our mission. Basically, it's to love each other and to love God. And this is the pray that they have for the conference in the families. I think the next conference will be in 3 years in Ireland. So we were thinking that perhaps we can go there, and we'll see. But in the last statement about pray, eat, and love. And when I say eat, of course we ate here, but it's not about eating only